This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, Bo Cook from Loan Market, BTZD, the official apparel partner of the Paracave Podcast, and the Parramatta Times, the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this is the Gameday preview podcast, and which will also be available on YouTube as well. And today it is round 19. It is game day. Can you feel it in the air? It is the Eels versus the Warriors at CommBank Stadium at 5:30 p.m. Saturday. Today, probably I think it is 7:30 p.m. over there in New Zealand, I think. So anyway, today's guest is a massive Warriors fan, and his name is the Warriorholic. Now, you will be able to find him on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube as well. He loves a very passionate Warriors fan based in New Zealand and knows the Warriors inside and out, and we have a little chat about the upcoming game and, you know, stuff like crucial players, both teams, how both teams have been tracking, how he actually got into supporting the Warriors as well. And we give a few predictions as well, like the score, first try scorer, anytime try scorer, and what we think might happen in the game. Now, when we were recording this, Shaun Johnson was maybe going to be ruled out, but at the time of recording this intro, it looks like that he will be playing in his 200th Warriors game. So, going to be tough for the Eels. But anyway, have a listen to our predictions. And if you prefer to watch the predictions, then check it out on the Paracave Podcast YouTube channel. And please subscribe and like as well. So, anyway, I'll hand over to myself, and this is the Eels vs Warriors Game Day preview, round 19 of the NRL. Enjoy! Alrighty, and here we have another Game Day preview on the Paracave Podcast, and obviously this week in round 19, it sees the Eels play the Warriors 5:30 p.m. at CommBank Stadium, and joining me today is the Warriorholic, all the way from New Zealand to preview this game. How you going, mate?
Not bad, my friend. Thanks for having us on. Nice to connect here.
Not a problem. Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to get our fans' perspective of games, and I know you're a crazy mad Warriors fan. And first of all, how did you get involved supporting the Warriors?
Mate, I'm probably a little bit older than you, so I started out with the Winfield Cup in the sort of late 80s when they actually started sending it to New Zealand on VHS every week, and I was grew up in a place called Upper Hutt, and we had the Tigers there who wear the exact same uniform as Balmain. So I started out a Balmain fan, and the day the Warriors came in, I just patched over and have never looked back, to be honest. Wasn't even a question.
Yeah, nice. Who have been some of your favourite players from over the years?
Back in the day, I started out in the days of Ciro and Blocker and Gary Freeman and that. So, but with the Warriors, I mean, Jazz Tavanga's probably my favourite player of all time, eh?
Yeah.
He represents the heart of the Warriors for me.
How many tackles and tries? He's been out injured lately, hasn't he, I think?
Yeah, he has. He almost tore his calf completely from the Achilles tendon. So
yeah.
He's back running finally.
He hasn't obviously made many tackles or scored tries to raise money for his charity.
No, he hasn't, but I had him on the podcast a while back and said he needs to be needs to be paying a fine instead since he's not playing.
Nah, fair enough. Oh, good on him. Good on him. All right, let's get into this preview of this game on Saturday night. Now, two teams that are in form. Parramatta had the bye last week. South Sydney beat the Warriors last week in New Zealand. But previous to that, the Warriors had been one of the sides that have been playing really good footy and getting wins and staying in that top 8. They've really been a little bit of a surprise packet, I think, this year, the Warriors. They've been pretty consistent. They haven't been up and down like a roller coaster like they have been in previous years. They've been really consistent under new coach Andrew Webster. Yeah,
it's pretty odd, actually. I would say we've probably been close to the most consistent, if you know what I mean. Like we're not that we've won every game, but we just haven't had the big hidings. Like I think there's maybe only 2 or 3 teams who haven't had 40 point spot on them yet. So it's a nice experience for a Warriors fan.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this game is pretty crucial for both sides. I think both sides are on 22 points in the competition, and the teams below in 9th and 10th are on 20. So, and above our two sides, they're on 24. So it's a crucial game for both teams, and a big game especially for Parramatta with 3 Origin players out for New South Wales, probably their 3 best players. Definitely Clint Gutherson and Mitchell Moses, and also RCG as well. Thankfully, we've got Junior Paolo back. First of all, how do you see your side, the New Zealand Warriors? How do you see that side lining up on the weekend?
I mean, it's interesting because we haven't had what I would consider our best team on the field once this year, so it's really hard to know, what our best side looks like. But I kind of feel like we're still a little bit light in the forwards at the moment, particularly with Neil Cotter out, having Mitch Barnett on the edge there instead of in the middle. And then looking at our bench, like having Freddie Lussick, Walker and Serenin on there, they're all pretty small guys. So I'm hoping for some fine weather, my friend, because if it rains again, we might be in trouble.
Yeah, no, I think I've checked the forecast already, and it's going to be top temperature of 19 and sunny on Saturday, so
beautiful.
Should be not too bad weather, and hopefully some fast conditions. Murata, he'll be upset that he's not coming back to CommBank playing the Eels against his old mates.
Well, mate, I tell you what, that's the one stadium in Australia. If I got to choose one to go for a game, it'd be there. Imagine the ground being so close to the crowd, and people all the rabid fans. It'd be amazing. So he'll be gutted too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a bit biased. I call it the best rectangular stadium in Australia, but it's great. And if you ever get the chance to get there, we'll catch up for sure. Now, definitely. There's been a little bit of talk about Shaun Johnson this week. They're having their second child, I believe, and he's been named on Tuesday. What's the word in New Zealand about him playing on the weekend? What are your thoughts?
I think there's more chance of me playing, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it would have just been, like putting the Eels in 2 minds, but she's not due till the 10th. And, I can't see him getting on the plane, even if she gave birth like tonight, because they must be flying out tomorrow, surely. So I think that was a bit of a smokescreen. The question is whether they go for Dylan Walker or Ronald Volkman as his replacement.
Who would you go for?
I'm really keen to Ronald Volkman, to be honest. I don't think Dylan Walker. I mean, well, you guys have got Madison at 5'8", so that could be an interesting matchup, actually. But I'd love to see Volkman and Metcalf match up together, because I think Volkman's clearly a halfback, and watching the games that I've seen of his in Cup, he's a gun halfback, but he's just definitely not a 5'8", so we haven't seen the best of him in the first grade yet.
What are your thoughts about the Parramatta side? Who do you think are the danger players in the Parramatta side on the weekend?
Paulo for a start. He's going to have a bit of a sort of bugbear having been dropped. And I really like your centres. Penasini's been outstanding. And just have a look at Bailey Simonson's numbers as well. He's looking pretty good there. So that's probably, for me, our biggest area of not weakness, but just somewhere I think we need to strengthen is our centres. So, yeah, it should be an interesting matchup there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm looking forward to the clash between Adam Fanua-Blake and Junior Paolo. That'll be the two big men going at it. That'll be a great clash for sure. I'm not sure if you've seen many of our games, but I'd be curious what your take is on Adam Pompey and Rocco Berry, if you have seen them. I think a little bit up and down, I think. They can have a mistake or two in them, but generally pretty good. And look, they certainly helped Dallin Watene-Zelezniak out a lot as well. And he's been one that's been on fire this year, scoring... I think he's up to 13 tries, I think, for the year.
Yeah.
The most he's scored in a long time.
He's an interesting one because being injured at the start of the season, Ed Costi came in for him and he had a blinder. So a lot of fans were saying, Dallin shouldn't get back in. Then his first game back, he was mud. But then all of a sudden, he had that half a game at fullback. I can't even remember who we were playing when Chance got injured. And ever since then, he's just flicked the switch and been outstanding. So... it's pretty nice to see some of those tries he scores, for us for once, rather than seeing like a guy like Sivo. Every time he seems to touch the ball at Para Stadium, he scores. So it'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, and definitely, I think another thing that Dallin's been doing really well this year is taking the ball out from your end after kicks. So he's making some good charges there. The one memory I do have of the Warriors versus Parramatta is Micah Sivo palming off Blake Ashford at Combank and going the length of the field. That was a great try, that one.
Oh, mate, that one when he ran over the top of Tedesco a couple of years back, mate, I'll never forget that. But it's a bit of a shame, actually. I'd like to see him and Montoya go head for head. Because Montoya, he's not as heavy, but, man, he's like running into a brick wall. And Micah Siva reminds me of that. He just looks at hard muscle that you'd just be literally like hitting concrete. So it'll be an interesting challenge for Dallin because he's not that big and he's not the best defender in the world. So I guess you guys will be looking down that edge a bit.
Well, on the other side, we've got Isaac Lumi as well. So no doubt the kickers for the Warriors will be targeting him on the wing with some high kicks.
Oh, geez, mate, after last weekend with us kicking to their most experienced wing all night and not kicking to the debutant, I wouldn't bet on that, actually.
Nah, fair enough. Well, and Sean Russell back at fullback as well, so hasn't...
What's his story, mate? I haven't seen him before.
So, probably mostly wing. He has played mostly wing for Parramatta. Obviously had the year out last year with the rib injury that he suffered against the Titans, I think it was, but he's pretty solid as a first grader. I think he does his charges and can score tries, and he's not too bad under the high ball, but definitely he'll be pressured on the weekend for sure.
I mean, it's like taking the heart out of your team with Gutho missing, right? I mean, that's the perception I get. You've got that. For us, it's Jazz, right? Whenever Jazz is playing, you just know there's no one on the field trying harder. And I get that impression with Gutho. He's a real leader by example. So it is going to be, no matter how well the guy plays, you'll feel the impact of that loss.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's anywhere and everywhere. He's at the back. He's in the line. He's, creating try assists. And I think that was one of the reasons that Brad Fittler said that he wanted him in the New South Wales side, because he wants to win. He's a winner. He wants to win every game he plays, no matter what it is, whether it's against the bottom side, the top side, the medium side, rep football. He just creates that culture around him that he wants to win.
I just hope he gets on the field, mate. I'd hate for them to leave him sitting on there the whole game and you don't get him from power. That'd be stink. But
yeah, definitely.
The other one I'm curious is Dijon Arce. I was a real fan of him, and I kind of wish the Warriors had re-signed him. I think he's a genuine X-Factor player, and the few runs he got for us, you could just tell there was something about him. But for some reason, they never really used him. So I think this is a really good chance for him to get some regular footy and prove that he's a quality first choice half. If not, with you guys, someone else picks him up, because I think he's wasted if he doesn't get regular footy at that point.
Yeah, we're certainly hoping that he can step up this week against you guys. He did that a couple of weeks ago against Manly when Mitch was in New South Wales and he had Ryan Madison as his halves partner. But is halfback his best position, do you think?
I would say 6, to be honest, but he's got a bloody good kicking game. Like he's got a bomb on him that's as good as Burden's. And we've really lacked that this season. I remember the few games he played last year. I was just looking at that towering bomb, thinking, man, I wouldn't want to be on the end of that. So I think our backs will be getting ready for that.
Yeah, so I think he'll want to control the team again around and just have Matto on the inside with him as well. One player I think, if Parramatta can maybe get under the skin of, maybe Mitchell Barnett. He can give a penalty away here and there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think he's been a bit better for us than he was at the Knights, but I kind of like that him and Niakota particularly has stepped up in the past couple of weeks, and you've got to be on that edge to put a little bit of fear in the opposition.
Yep.
And without Jazz, I mean, no one's ever going to say that Adam Fanua-Blake's not a really scary guy, but I think he's a different kind of scary. You just got to have that, that guy. You don't know what's going to come, and I think it's good having that, but being at the line where you don't get 10 in the bin, because we've had someone in the bin, I think, almost every game for the past 6 or 7 weeks, and while we normally defend it well, it cost us hugely in the weekend. So, yeah, you might not be wrong there.
And that is one player that you are desperately missing, is Murata, because he's been one of your best players this year. So sort of found a new lease of life, living back in New Zealand and playing for you guys, and obviously the experience of making the grand final last year, he's taken that to the Warriors as well.
Well, it's interesting, I was listening to SEN this afternoon, and they're talking about the Tigers there, and they're sort of debating about what they need to turn around, and they're saying, I can't remember the term, he's like a level raiser. These guys who come into a team and just raise the bar.
Yeah.
And I think that our signings this year, no one really got excited them outside the Warriors, but every one of them is a super competitive, highly professional trainer. And apparently, like Murata leads that. Everything he does, he hates losing.
Yeah.
So, to not have a guy like that's going to be a big out, and I think we saw that last week, that Mitch Barnett, I think he's much more of a middle player these days. So I'm a little bit concerned about having him on an edge there. Who's he up against?
You got Andrew Davey and Bryce Cartwright in the back row for Parramatta, and Jermaine Hopgood at lock.
Yeah, Andrew Davey? What's he like?
Yeah, look, some fans would say they wouldn't want him in the starting side. He's basically mid-season transfer to Parramatta. Look, he's probably a solid first grader. He's not a superstar. He too does have a mistake in him here and there. Reasonable defender. So he's held his spot, I think, for the last 5 weeks or so.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cartwright. I'm glad he's getting a bit of footy, but you'd imagine Sean Lane will be getting on there for most of the game, so he might come on for Davey, so that's not ideal for Mitch Barnett. I love how we can bring teams back or players back into form like that.
That sounds like Parramatta from back in the day, I think. We're usually good for that one. The clash of the hookers will be an interesting one as well. Brendan Hands up against Wade Egan, who's celebrating a milestone this weekend.
Yeah, Egan's an interesting one. Like I wasn't convinced about him for a long time that he would be that guy who could actually take us into the finals. Solid enough player, but I always felt like there was a big gap between him and that next class above. But this year on the back of a forward pack, laying a foundation, he's been outstanding. So if he has a good game, I think he goes a long way to taking us towards a victory. To be honest, I don't know too much about your man there.
He's played a handful of first grade games, and since he's come to Parramatta, and a lot of Parramatta fans think that he should be the number 9 without Josh Hodgson there, or even when Josh is there. It just adds that little bit of explosiveness. Can play in the halves if need be. He's got a little bit of a kicking game and just those short darts out of dummy half as well. So that's Brendan Hands' game. Now, as I said, you guys have got some milestone games, milestone players playing milestone games this weekend. I got it out. Who are they, and how many games are they playing this weekend?
It's interesting, before I get on to the who, is we traditionally have been pretty average in milestone games, whether it be for key players, when they whether it's like the Anzac Day games or what have you, which is has been a concern. But this year we've actually been pretty good. I think we're batting close to must be close to 100%. I think so.
Okay.
I'm quietly confident there, but yeah. So what do we got? Dylan Walker, I think it's his 200th. We've got Adam Fanua Blake. Is it his 200th or his 150th for the club? And Wade Egan as well. And it's meant to be Shaun Johnson. So there's a few going on there. And we've gone all right with milestone games this year, and also wrecking a couple.
Yes, well, speaking of that, I think it's Micah Sivo's 100th game too, NRL. So, we've only got one, and you guys have got three. So,
yeah, I mean, like, I got to be honest, like, I would have felt a lot more confident if we'd had but after there, but I just think we're a little bit light, particularly in the reserves there, that we're going to have to hope for a really quick game and try to tire some of your boys out, which was something I don't think we could traditionally say for the Warriors ever. But I'd say we're in the top handful of fittest clubs this year. By all accounts, our whole off season this year was based around footy. There's very little running the hills like we've traditionally done, which meant that we sort of started the season with a different kind of fitness, and that's what Jazz said, that he'd never felt as footy fit ever coming into a season, and he said he's been really fit in his life. So I think we're going to have to rely on that, because you've got some big boys there in the middle, and a pretty big boy at 5'8". So it's going to have to be a fitness game, I think, for us.
And do you think that's transforming into the Warriors' play this season? The fact that they did train more footy-wise in the off-season?
Mate, I've gone from 7 years or 26 years before this season of just fearing the last 20 minutes of games, because we've always been the team of just like quite the fitness starts to run out, then you get mental fatigue, you make silly mistakes and teams run over you. Whereas this year, I think, our last 20 minutes has been one of our strongest all season. So it's light and day. It's led to that. I think there's actually a part of our game plan that we welcome teams on our try line.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I think we struggled. Yeah, we struggle a little bit more, a bit further out in our edges. But right on our line, we're pretty good at holding them out. And I think teams start to get a little bit frustrated, and it tires them out mentally, whereas I think it sort of builds our resilience. So it's a very untraditional Warriors-like place to be in, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, the last time the Warriors and the Eels met, it was a 28-18 victory to Parramatta, and that was at CommBank Stadium. What are your thoughts? What are your score predictions on this game on Saturday? How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah. When was the last time you guys lost the game? Is this your sixth in a row or seventh in a row you going?
6 in a row, I think we're going for. Yeah, we had the bye last week, and 5 before that. So,
mate, it's really interesting. Because both teams have got some interesting people out. I think it's a really hard one to pick. I think it could well be, mid-20s. For both teams, so it could be something like 26, 22 or whatever. I don't think we'll see like a. I don't want to say it out loud really, but we haven't had a big blowout against us. And even in the weekend when we played it pretty averagely against a Souths team who I haven't seen play that good all season, to only lose by 22. But I know at the same time you guys have got some points in you, so yeah. But I'm thinking, someone's going to win about 26-22.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking probably about 24-18, something like that. So, yeah, definitely.
You think we're going to get 24, do you?
No. I think it'll be... Look, it's going to be really tough for Parramatta, obviously, with those 3 players out, but I think it just gives an opportunity for the players that are there to stand up and really show what they're made of and show that they can get the job done without those players there. Last game, Mitchell Moses and Junior Paolo weren't there and they stood up against Manly. But just not having Gutho there worries me a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think they can get the job done. Looking at both of the sides, I think maybe your backline probably covers our backline a little bit, but our forwards probably cover your forwards in the game, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, if I sit here and look, fullback, I'd probably give that to Chance purely on experience, and he's had a really good year. Sivo and Dallin, 2 completely different guys, but both can score a try. 50-50 there. I think Penasini gets it over Berry. Simonson probably over Pompey. Lumi, I'd probably say might go down a little bit to Montoya.
Yeah.
Metcalf against Madison, like, you've got the power versus the speed, so that's an interesting matchup. And then probably Volkman against Arcee, again 50-50. So I think the back line there is very similar, and I think we can probably match you in the middle, but the edges is where I'm probably going to, particularly with Lane coming back, for you guys, would be the area that worries me the most. So I'm not going to say we're going to beat you. I hope we don't lose, but I wouldn't want to put money on either way, to be honest.
Nah, that's fair enough. Have you got a prediction of a first try scorer or a anytime try scorer?
Oh, maybe Adam Finnell-Blake again. He's got about 6 or 7 in him, I think, this season. So when he scores, we generally tend to win. So I think if he can match or dominate Paulo in the middle, goes a long way. So I'm going to give Adam a try in the first 3 minutes.
First 3 minutes, okay. Interesting. Set the platform.
I don't deal with close games very well, so we need to get off to a good start.
That's the same as me. I say that, I wish Parramatta get off to that good start, because if you get off to that good start, then it generally sort of flows and you're never chasing your tail then. So,
how are you with a close game? How do you deal with a real close one if you're at home?
Not too good. Because even when we're leading in that last 5 minutes, you just know Parramatta are one of those sides that just can lose it in the last 5 minutes, and it can get very nerve-wracking sometimes.
I deal with it better live, I think, but I've had a couple of games this season where I've gone off it in the middle of a game and pruned trees for like 20 minutes and then come back, because I can go back and rewatch a loss and sort of try and break it down, but I'm not good live. I'm terrible. So I'm glad I'm not the only one, mate. What about yourself? Who you got for the first try scorer?
Look, I'm pretty partial to Will Penasini. I think he'll probably get the first try. Bailey's going to be right up there as well. I like centres as first try scorers. You'd have to probably think that Micah could be an anytime try scorer. He's got a great try scoring record at Combank. So,
well, our biggest weakness is as far as tries is we give a lot of tries away to wingers on the edges. Either our halfback or someone will jam early and we'll leave a gap out wide. So, if I'm going for you guys, I'll be going for Micah, to be honest, because Dallin likes to come in off his line every now and then.
Oh, don't worry, Micah does the same, so maybe I might say Dallin then. He likes to jam in sometimes. And
I wonder if they have an option like pick either Micah or Dallin to get 3.
Well, no doubt they will, I guess. First, second, and third try scorer, maybe. Who knows? But
yeah, mate.
Nah, look, it should be a good game. I think there should be a pretty reasonable crowd there. I think there's a few Warriors supporters in Sydney, so no doubt there'll be a little bit of a contingent there.
You'd hope so, mate. What have your crowds been like this season? You're getting a fair few there?
Yeah. So between 15s and 20s each week. So probably this week, I don't know. It's hard to say. 5:30 on a Saturday. It's probably a good time. probably, well, with the players out, I reckon it's going to be about a 14,000 crowd, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I think you probably get about 5,000 Warriors fans there.
School holidays as well in New South Wales, so that might get a few more people there, maybe.
Yeah, mate. I think we've sold out every game in Auckland, so actually every game in New Zealand this year. So it might be nice to have a quieter ground for the boys to play.
Yeah, it's fantastic that there's rugby league back in New Zealand this year, and you guys are embracing it, and as you said, selling out stadiums every week in New Zealand, so it's great.
Yeah, mate. It's got. I mean, it's just lovely to get it back live and get those guys back home with their families. But you know, I've got to say, not sort of peeing in your pocket, but I do really enjoy the positive approach you take there. And like, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Para because I spent a lot of time working over there a few years back. Walked down to the old Para Stadium a couple of times. It was in the off season, so. Seeing how positive you are there, it makes me feel like the Para fans must be a positive bunch as well. So you go into a game like this, I don't have any hate, and it'll be a fun game either way. Whereas if no matter how good the guy I was talking to from the Storm, all I'd want is for him to lose. So I'm excited about a good game, mate, and I hope it goes well for both of us.
Yeah, that's it. Well, let's hope the best team wins, and obviously for yourself, that'll be the Warriors, and for myself, it's Parramatta. So, but then we can just both say that rugby league's the winner at the end of the day, can't we? So,
exactly.
Especially if we lose, but
we won't go for a draw, eh?
No, that's right. Well, Warriorholic, thank you very much for joining me today on the Para Cave podcast, and might get you on in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll do a extended interview about your support for the Warriors. It's always great.
I'd love to, mate.
Yeah, it's always great to hear fans' stories about their support for their club, and I always say without the fans, you don't have a game. So
either that, or I'll tell you, I'll get you on when we get you at our place for a semi-final, eh?
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting. I've never been over to New Zealand before, so one day I'm going to get over there. It's on the bucket list to get to every ground, so mate. Parramatta Warriors game, I'll be there.
Well, you might see me in Sydney for the first weekend of October then, eh? Hopefully against Para.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. So thank you very much for coming
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. See you next time.